Welcome to Successful Living with Bill Napick. Every week, we talk with interesting people in a variety of professions for ideas to enhance your success in all aspects of life. Successful Living with Bill Napick starts right now. Here's Bill Napick.
And welcome to the show. It is Successful Living with Bill Napick, and I am Bill Napick today with Judene Bill, our show partner with Texas Floor Covering, doing super work 24/7 all over Houston, Texas, and she brought tremendous guests here today. First, we're going to meet Michelle Wogan. Michelle directs a Houston office leasing team for Transwestern. She serves as the executive vice president at Transwestern and has been a top producer for 18 years. That's fantastic. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Welcome, Michelle.
Nice to be here. Good to see everyone.
Judene, what a guest. Again, you have powerhouse guests. First, we're going to meet Michelle, so let's get going.
Yeah, Michelle, I mean, it's so impressive that you top 10. So tell us about that. I mean, tell us about some of the clients that you have and how you got there.
It's a long story. You ready for some
Yes,
some words
we're ready.
Here? Okay, all right.
Yeah, we're ready.
So, I'm a Longhorn and a native Houstonian, born and raised with 5 other of my brothers and sisters. When I went to school, I was number 5, so my parents kind of ran out of money. So I worked my way through college, waitress on 6th Street, and then ended up working for 2 different developers in Austin while I was going through school. And my last one was Barnes-Connolly Partnership. You remember Ben Barnes and John
Yes.
Connolly. So worked for them for my last couple years. They really pushed me to go and get into a training program at CBRE. It was called the Wheel program for 2 years, making $14,000 a year. Thank you very much. And had to work a second job. But
You've always worked through everything.
Yeah, worked through everything. So, but I loved it. I loved working for the development companies in Austin.
Mm-hmm.
And so I decided, I majored in finance and minored in real estate. So I kind of knew what I wanted to do because of my jobs that I had during college. So, and then once I got into CB and did the Wheel program, I just stayed in the business, and I've been here for 36 years. It's crazy.
And then you moved over to Transwestern after that.
I've been at Transwestern for 18 years now, and it's a privately held company headquartered in Houston. All the leadership is here, so it's nice to see that top guys running around the office and being there to support us as we do our business every day. So really enjoy working at Transwestern, and it's a great company, and we continue to mentor and have young adults come aboard and grow within the firm, which is exciting, which is what happened to me.
Yeah, and you've been top 10 just about your whole career.
Working hard,
Working very
smart,
hard. Yeah.
and fortunate to have really good clients and to have really good team members and people that are passionate about what they do. So if you wake up in the morning and you feel good and you can go to work and be happy, that's life.
Yeah.
So
I love commercial real estate too, so
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. So tell us, I mean, how you started down at the very bottom, and then how did you move up the chain?
Well, again, hard work, thinking outside the box, working with teams, using resources to help performance. And, I'll tell you, in life, you can work hard every day, but you need a little timing and luck to be on your side. So I got to have all those components to be successful, and I wouldn't be successful without all the people around me.
Yeah, and you had some great mentors growing up.
I did. I start with my mom and dad. So being 5 out of 6 growing up, I would have to ask for money when I didn't have a job. So before I was 12, and it took about 30 minutes to get $5.
You had to wait in line with all your brothers and sisters.
Yeah, and I didn't know that 4 other brothers and sisters had already asked for the $5, so I was waiting in line. So I was like, I cannot wait 30 minutes for $5. So that encouraged me to get to work. So I started babysitting at 12 and worked through high school, was actually on the work program in high school, worked through college. So I've been working all my life, but I love it. I like to have my own money and do my own thing and help other people. And it was a good childhood, and it was a good learning experience. And I have a very close family, so I'm very fortunate.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think people that work hard when they're younger, instead of getting handed everything, turn out to be extremely hard workers in real life.
Kind of like you, Judene.
That's true. I didn't get anything handed to me. tell us about the market.
Well, listen, boy, it was a slap in the face when COVID hit us all, and I started thinking, should I retire now, or should I move to the Caribbean, sell T-shirts? I'm not sure. I thought about that. So it's definitely COVID has hit the office market pretty hard, and so you're just seeing a different profile as tenants come out to the market. So they are downsizing, they're providing for flexible work schedules, they're going into better real estate or more efficient real estate today. So we're not going to see a lot of net absorption in the next couple of years because these companies are downsizing and moving, and they're putting vacancy back on the market. So it's getting better. We have a lot of activity compared to the last 2 years right now, so people are making decisions, which is great because I think the companies are really encouraging their employees to come back to work, and the way they're doing that is going into an environment that has a lot of amenities and outdoor amenities, green space, tenant lounges, conference centers, fitness centers, food service. I mean, you name it. There may be a movie room in the future. I don't know. But, I mean, whatever a building can offer these tenants, the more amenities, the more likely they will get leased, because that's what tenants are looking for. Yeah. They want to encourage their employees to come back to work and have fun and enjoy the environment that they work in.
Yeah, whatever it takes to get them back.
Yes.
But I know you have a lot of very large clients, and you typically do the large blocks of vacant space. So do you want to tell us a couple of those deals that you've been working on?
Well,
or are those deals kind of going down and you're working with smaller tenants now, or?
Well, you're aware of one of them. So 2 Westlake, you were involved in the renovation,
I sure
right?
was,
yeah.
yes.
So that's out in the Energy Corridor, just inside Highway 6 at I-10, and it's in a deed restricted
580 Westlake.
580 Westlake, yeah, beautiful building.
It is gorgeous,
and over 400,000 square feet available, and it's a definite value option for a Class A campus environment. And of course, we're right down the street from all the trail system at Terry Hershey Park.
Yep. Which within walking distance to Hershey Park.
Yep.
So, and then you guys all have a lot of outdoor space there, and the little lakes and the areas where employees can sit outside and feed the ducks and have their lunch outside. So it's a beautiful building.
Very amenity rich environment. And so all of my big blocks, including there's another 500,000 square foot building that we just took over, 5959 Corporate Drive in Southwest Houston. It's one of the only.
Oh, I did a lot of that work in that building. Yes.
Well, there you go. So you're familiar with it.
And they are a very big block.
The floor plates are 154,000.
Yeah, they're huge.
And
it doesn't look it from the outside, but it's huge inside.
It doesn't, but it's very amenity rich, and it we've got plug and play space, and it's one of the only redundant buildings in the market. So fully redundant fiber, fully redundant power, and we have plug and play space, and it's air conditioned 24/7. So there's not a lot of buildings like that, but that's a fun project to work on as well. And then we've got several large blocks up by the airport, the North Belt, and that's probably some of the best value for your money to Class A buildings. And so tenants in this market have a lot of great options, and they can lock into lower rents today.
So even when they're coming up for a renewal, they've been there 7 years, 5 years, and they come up for a renewal, you guys are lowering their rent?
It depends on where they are, but yes. I mean, most of the tenants are getting the benefit. All of the tenants really are getting the benefit of the market.
Good to know. Mine's due next year.
Well, get on it, girl.
Well, Bobby Bozart that works for your company is my tenant rep.
Well,
and she's a gun. She'll get us whatever we can get.
She sure will. She's awesome.
There you go. That's good news. Rents are going down. Let the word go forth.
Yeah,
We're
love it.
We're talking with Michelle Wogan, an executive vice president with Transwestern. Michelle, let's tell people before we move along too far, in case they don't know, and people listening on the internet outside of Houston, Transwestern, what does your company do?
Well, we started as a development company in the 70s, and Robert Duncan started the company with his team, and is still chairman of the company, which is fantastic. And he has 6 sons, and they all work for Transwestern now. But we cover development, brokerage, industrial sales, leasing, office leasing, sales, capital markets, retail, multifamily. really, you name it, in commercial real estate, we do it. We develop, we own, we have a lot of partnerships in the city, so it's a really great company, and we've grown so much since inception and continue to grow. And we just opened up a hospitality division, so now we're focused on hotels and working with partners on development opportunities. So we do it all.
Covering so many bases. That's fantastic. The people that you're serving, as we hear about all the people coming into Houston, Texas, from everywhere, and of course we hear so much about California, East Coast, West Coast. Give us an idea of the people that you're serving. How many of them, I don't know, say the last 20 or so clients that you've had, how many of them are from outside of Houston?
Well, most of them, I will say, have some kind of home in Houston, but there has been growth in Texas, obviously, from the West Coast. A lot of it has been going to Austin for the technology, since it's a tech city. Of course, Tesla and Google and Facebook, they're all in Austin, but we are really positioned, Houston, to be able to support the people, the companies that are looking for technology jobs. So Houston is seeing more interest from Greater Houston Partnership with corporate relocations from the West Coast. So I would say as a percentage, probably 20% of the folks that I'm working with, new prospects, are coming in from the West Coast.
Is that because the leases are more expensive there on the West Coast?
And cost of living and
everything.
I'm not going to go into politics, okay? So don't even ask me to do that.
No, we don't want to do that.
But Houston's a great town, and I think they see the value, and not only to live in a great city, but to work in some beautiful real estate and
prosper financially.
Absolutely.
No doubt about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I know you're strictly on the broker side of it, but you also, Transwestern does manage as well.
Yes.
And, I bought and sold a few buildings and had Transwestern manage my buildings, which were awesome. And I think one of the reasons I chose them to manage our properties was because I met some of your upper management. A lot of the upper management I saw in Bible studies, and I think I met Chip at Priority and Associates, which is now Crew. So, I love that. I love that with the upper management being God-centered, and it just makes a great work environment. I know that y'all have several Bible studies there as well, and they allow us to use some meeting rooms there to do that. And I think that's just fantastic, and what a great work environment there.
Yeah, well, God's first. We wouldn't be here without Him. And if you have faith in God and you work through His name, you will be successful.
Absolutely.
Yes. So one of the last times I saw you was with Crew, CRU, which was called Priority and Associates. We're on the golf course raising money, right?
Yes.
Charity golf tournaments.
Priority and Associates was it would target business leaders high up the food chain to make God their first priority in business, and then they later changed it to Crew. So.
Yes, it's a great organization, and we're involved in that. And obviously, several people at Transwestern, you and your team is involved in it, and we always have fun going out on the golf course on hopefully a beautiful day.
It's always a good time.
Yes, absolutely. And I just think that being involved in philanthropy as part of life is part of your work-life balance, and so I think everybody needs to pay it forward, because that's why we were put on earth, is to help people, and it's not about us, it's about everybody else. And so I'm passionate about Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. I've been involved in that for the last 14 years. My daughter and I started getting involved with Light the Night when she was 12, Jessica. And we volunteered, and it was our favorite philanthropy. So I continue to raise money with team members from Transwestern, and we're trying to raise $10,000 right now, and I'm up to about...
write her a check.
I'm about 6,100 right now, so come on, people. But it's all the money goes to research and finding a cure for cancer, and they're making some big strides, which is wonderful. But I would like to see a cure for cancer sometime in my lifetime. I'm praying for that.
Wonderful. My father died of cancer, so.
Yeah, so did mine. So
my mom.
Your mom?
Yeah, too many people surrounding us are getting hit with it.
Touches everybody,
Yeah.
It really does.
Well, let's tell people again the organization, and if they do want to help, the website, so that they can reach out if they want to help.
Yes. So it is a link, and if I may ask, I could put it on the YouTube if you could include it on.
Sure.
Then I have the link to donations, and it's Leukemia and Lymphoma Foundation, and so you can donate directly to them. And but Michelle Wogan has a site on leukemia and lymphoma, so if y'all want to donate, and I'll give Bill the link.
Michelle, but the last few minutes that you're going to be here, let's tell people, what else do you want them to know? And also give us an idea of your core principles of success, how you've been successful. Is there one or two things that you've done in every position in your life that has helped you?
Thanks, Bill. Well, I think it's about communication, passion, hard work, and really solving problems is what I do every day. And you don't want to just email your clients. You want to pick up the phone and have a conversation. So that's what I encourage these young kids getting into the business is they're used to texting and emailing. But I'll tell you, when you pick up the phone and call your client, they love you, okay? They actually want to have a conversation with you. And emails sometimes seem harsh because there's not...
If you don't have proper email
Correct.
etiquette.
Correct.
Yeah.
And, with them texting, so there's a lot of acronyms and things like that. So I've mentored a lot of young professionals, and that's part of the mentoring process is helping them understand how to communicate. And I think that's really key in success.
It is key. So before we close, let's tell everybody what you do for fun. You mentioned golf.
Well, I'm taking golf. I've been playing bad golf for about 27 years. I'm a fun golfer, but and I know, Judene, you're a great golfer, and but I love golf and I love water sports and snow skiing and physically
games.
I love my Astros.
Yes, of course.
Love my Texans. I love Houston. We enjoy being outdoors really a lot and traveling for my spare time and being with family and friends. I've got a lot of. I'm fortunate to have such a great family and a good group of friends around me. So,
well, also people may need the services of Transwestern and also your services. So we want to tell people how they can reach you in case they need your help in the commercial real estate world, Michelle.
Sure, Bill. My email address is michelle.wogan@transwestern.com. And my phone number is 713-270-3348. So if I can service anybody, please let me know. I've got a platform where I can help you with any service that you need in the commercial real estate field. Thank you for having me so much. It was a lot of fun.
We want to thank Judene for that stroke of casting genius. But let's tell people again, Michelle, your phone number.
713-270-3348.
And what did we miss, Judene? Anything else?
I think we're good. If you want to say your website one more time.
It's michelle.wogan@transwestern.com, and then our website is www.transwestern.com. So you can find all of our services and products that we have to give everyone on the website. So it's been a lot of fun. Thank you for having me.
You're so welcome. We enjoyed it.
And thanks for being with us. As we move from room to room, building to building, business to business, we are walking on floors of some type at all times. At Texas Floor Covering, we are there to serve you since 1989, helping you, whether you're an architect, designer, building manager, general contractor, a sports arena, government agency. We are there for your commercial flooring needs. Texas Floor Covering. Give us a call at 713-862-2444. That's 713-862-2444. Our website is texasfloorcovering.com. That's texasfloorcovering.com. Check us out. We are here for you, Texas Floor Covering. And as we continue, let's welcome our next guest that Judene has brought forth. He is Orlando Sanchez from Cuba, Havana, Cuba. He has been a politician here in Houston, Texas, doing tremendous work. His organization today is called TLC. That's right, Texas Latino Conservatives. Orlando, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Bill. Appreciate you having me.
And my fellow Cubano.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome, Judene, that you mentioned that. I did not know you have a Cuban heritage.
Yes.
Certainly Orlando is going to tell us about that too, but that's amazing.
Yeah. So my parents my grandparents came in the late 1800s, so I don't really have that experience of coming to America for the first time. And so that's the first thing I wanted to ask you is, what was that experience like? I know you were a young child coming over, but do you have any vague memories of coming over?
Yeah, vague is the appropriate word. I do remember a traumatic situation, and that's when the Castro forces moved into Havana. We used to live near what was called La Plaza Cívica, which is the Civic Plaza. And that's actually where Pope John Paul was going to hold Mass until, President Clinton and Monica Lewinsky had their little escapade. So all the world press left Havana, but that's where I lived. And I remember going, my parents moved us down to the first floor because there was a lot of gunfire. And I remember...
in Cuba, you can remember that.
Yeah, and I remember the stairwell going down to our neighbor's first floor apartment, and that stairwell...
Trying to take cover.
Yeah,
wow.
That stairwell was exactly as I remembered it, and that's pretty much what I recall.
But do you remember coming to America once they decided to make that move? Do you remember those? I know you went to Venezuela first for a short time, but do you remember leaving Cuba? Do you have any memories of that?
Not really.
No?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I never got to experience that part because been, I think, 3 generations here. So.
Right.
So, and then you were the first Latino to be elected citywide here. So you want to give us a little...
Well, I wasn't the first Latino, but I was the first Hispanic immigrant, naturalized citizen to be elected citywide. We had several. Leonel Castillo was the city controller many years ago. And then Gracie Sines actually was a city councilwoman before I was. And then I became the first immigrant Latino elected citywide.
Not born in the U.S.
Yeah. And then I actually also became the first Hispanic immigrant elected countywide. So there's some interesting historic perspective.
Yeah.
And
well,
I tell
Texas
people all the
history.
time, only in America.
Yeah.
Only in America.
Yeah. And we have everybody coming here still. So we're the best place on earth.
Yeah.
And then, I heard that, your father worked for a judge. Is that how you got into the industry?
Well, my father was a baseball broadcaster.
Yeah, I know that.
In Havana. And
For the Colts 45.
And his voice was carried over Latin America because baseball, of course, in the Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico and Venezuela and Cuba are very popular. He was on baseball business in New York. And in late 1961, Houston was notified that Major League Baseball was going to have an expansion team, and they were going to be called the Colt 45s. The ownership among the owners was former Harris County Judge Roy Hoffines and former Mayor Roy Hoffines, and he wanted to start broadcasting the ball games in Spanish. So he sought out 2 well-known voices in baseball, and that was my father and Rene Cardenas, a Nicaraguan, and they both started here in Houston in April of 1962.
Wow.
So that's how we ended up here. Yeah.
That's an amazing story. So, and then now Colts 45 is known as Houston Astros
Houston
now.
Astros, right.
So that's some more Texas history.
Yeah.
When you ran for mayor, tell us about that experience.
Well, it was a wonderful experience. I was not successful. I narrowly lost against the incumbent mayor, Lee Brown, at the time. As you remember, Lee Brown used to be the police chief of Houston, Atlanta, police commissioner in New York, former drug czar for the Clinton administration, and ran for mayor of Houston. And I served with Lee Brown 2 terms on the Houston City Council, but I was watching the decisions that he was making, particularly with respect to the pension systems of the city of Houston, and how it was going to negatively affect the city of Houston finances in the foreseeable future. So I decided to challenge the mayor. I had no money in the campaign account, which is interesting. I think Mayor Brown had about $2.5 million. But it became one of the most historic races in Houston history. And the reason that happened is because we voted more people in the runoff than in the general election. That never happened. So the November election is where everybody turns out. And if you don't have a majority of the vote, and there were several candidates running, then the 2 top vote getters go into a runoff in December. Well, December is the holiday season. Everybody's out shopping. Guys in Texas are out hunting. And so the turnout for a runoff election is historically low and lower than the general election. Well, we actually voted more people in the runoff than in the general election.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And then you, of course, got a lot of Hispanic votes as well.
We did, and that's a great question because historically, Hispanics back then only made up about 7% of the total vote in city elections. We doubled that to almost 14%. And what was interesting, however, was that I received well over 70% of the Hispanic vote. That was interesting because most of the media had portrayed me as a very, conservative kind of Republican, even though that city races are nonpartisan. But they did that to sort of drive down the enthusiasm and turnout. Well, it didn't work, and Hispanics turned out in large numbers, and I received almost three-quarters of that, well over three-quarters of that vote.
And didn't you do a survey about Latino voters and,
Yeah, so recently, when I served as county treasurer for Harris County for 3 terms, that's 12 years, I saw some trends that were not good for conservative leadership in Texas. As you know, we meaning Republicans, hold every statewide office from the governor on down. But the margins were getting thinner. In other words, the percentage of the Hispanic vote going to Republicans was getting smaller and smaller. We've lost every major county in Texas: Harris County, Dallas County, Bexar County, Travis County, El Paso County. We still win the suburbs, the exurbs, and rural Texas. But I didn't see the Republican Party doing the work necessary to encourage more Hispanics to participate and devote their values, which are naturally conservative. So I started a political action committee called Texas Latino Conservatives. The acronym is TLC.
Right.
And just a few months ago, we concluded a historic and major poll of Latino attitudes. We all know that Hispanics are voting more conservative, and particularly around the Rio Grande River, South Texas, and the RGV, the Rio Grande Valley. But we wanted to know exactly why and what's driving them and what are their values. And so we conducted a poll of 1,200 registered Hispanic voters in specific regions of Texas. And we had some really interesting results. For example, 61% of Hispanics are bothered by the Democratic Party.
Really?
Yeah.
Did they say why?
Well, they did say why.
Okay.
They interestingly, they said that, and it was an open-ended question, so they just told us that they see the Democratic Party as the party of los vagos, which in translated means the party of the lazy. Hispanics,
oh, my goodness.
The lazy.
The
Wow.
lazy. Hispanics don't like handouts. And it's really
They
interesting.
really don't. They're such hard workers. You
Yeah.
know. They're
I tell people all
incredibly
the
hard
time.
workers and have a lot of family values and pride.
Yeah, we say to people, I hear Hispanics say, how many Latinos do you see begging at the corner? Well, we don't.
No.
The only time you see a Hispanic begging is begging for a job
For
at Home
work.
Depot or
Yeah,
at Lowe's.
But they're asking for work.
Right.
They're not begging for a handout.
So they
you're exactly
value
right.
work. And as they become more economically and socially upwardly mobile, they begin to vote like their neighbors. And so we're seeing this explosion of Hispanics going into Texas suburbs and exurbs and voting conservative. Of course, along the Rio Grande, the communities down there, let's say Del Rio, Eagle Pass, Brownsville, they're getting hammered by this wave of illegal immigration. People don't understand that the taxpayers there, and taxpayers in Texas are generally property taxpayers. They fund everything from public education to EMS to law enforcement to the local jail, and to the extent they have a county community hospital, they fund that too. And these communities are getting hammered, and as more and more undocumented illegal aliens cross the border, it's the South Texas communities that are absorbing the brunt. And so that's why they're supporting more conservatives and more Republicans, because according to our poll, they see that Republicans do a better job of controlling the border.
Yeah, and I work with quite a few Hispanics in my industry, and they say the same thing. They don't want them to come over illegally. They want them to go through their normal channels, and so they're not for that. They're for controlling the borders.
Hispanics support border control fiercely. They're
really do.
very patriotic. One other interesting question we asked how do you identify yourself to your family and friends? And most respondents said as Americans, and then the next highest response was as Texans. Very few identify as, want to be Latino or want to be separate. No, Hispanics want to be part and parcel of this great country.
Yeah, they do. They have a lot of pride, Texas pride.
We're talking with Orlando Sanchez. He's the founder of Texas Latino Conservatives. Orlando, as far as your efforts going right now in your organization, how is it going? Are you being successful? And what's the outlook as you see as the election is approaching and all these things?
Well, we're excited about
Are we hopeful?
Yeah, we're very hopeful. And actually, we've had tremendous successes. So just to give the listeners an idea, we are two organizations. Texas Latino Conservatives is a general purpose state PAC where we actually endorse candidates and we make financial donations to candidates that we believe are going to be good conservative leaders in Texas. But we also have a 501c3, which is a nonprofit organization where we educate, we motivate, we do voter registration, and we also train young conservatives to run for public office. And we do that through an organization called Leadership Latino. Okay. And so, Bill, to answer your question, I trained a young lady by the name of Mayra Flores down in the Rio Grande Valley. And she was just elected in a special election as the first Mexican-born member of the United States Congress. She's a naturalized citizen. And her parents came here working as migrant farm workers, and she made history by becoming a Republican congresswoman in a Democrat district. It's House District 34 in South Texas. She's up for re-election. We also elected a young 18-year-old to the Kerrville City Council, who's the son of Mexicans. We elected a Army veteran attorney licensed to practice law in New York and Texas by the name of Dan Corrales to the Midland City Council. Our former executive director, born in Juarez, Mexico, who is a graduate of Texas A&M. She just became the first Hispanic elected in Longview, Texas. So what we're doing is building
are being formed.
Yeah, we're building the farm team of future conservative Hispanic leaders in Texas. So very successful. We've grown. I never imagined this political action committee growing as much as it has. We were involved in 24 House races last election because we were trying to make sure that Texas continued to have conservative leadership. And if we lost the Texas House of Representatives, we would be in bad shape in Texas. So we were involved in 24 House races, very successful in those. And so that's what we do.
And as people are listening, they may want to help and go to the website. Let's tell people the website so they can find out more about the organization and also how they can help.
Well, the organization has a webpage. It's TexasLatinoConservatives.com, TexasLatinoConservatives.com. And the way to help is either volunteer for our many activities or make a financial donation so that we can continue to do the great work that we do across the state of Texas, encouraging, training, motivating, and electing young Hispanic conservatives in the state of Texas.
It's exciting that you're being that successful. We're going to take a short break. We're with Orlando Sanchez. He's coming right back. We're going to take a short break and come right back. As we move from room to room, building to building, business to business, we are walking on floors of some type at all times. At Texas Floor Covering, we are there to serve you since 1989, helping you, whether you're an architect, designer, building manager, general contractor, a sports arena, government agency. We are there for your commercial flooring needs. Texas Floor Covering. Give us a call at 713-862-2444. That's 713-862-2444. Our website is TexasFloorCovering.com. That's TexasFloorCovering.com. Check us out. We are here for you, Texas Floor Covering.
Welcome back, Orlando. You touched on the 501c4 and how you've helping the Latino conservatives. What about the next generation of Latinos?
Well, we're confident, as in the polls show this, and let me just say that the Latino community is no different than the Irish immigrants that came here decades ago, or the Italian immigrants. They all acculturate. They become part of America, and Latinos are no different. They're becoming just Americans like the rest of us,
Absolutely.
very patriotic and willing to serve this country. And there's no better evidence of that. If you go down to the South Texas and you look at the Border Patrol agents, it looks like about 65% of them are Hispanic.
Exactly.
The DPS officers sent down to protect our border are Hispanic. Our military is full of Hispanics serving our
Absolutely.
country. So they're just like every other immigrant group. They just want to be Americans. But we, for the next generation, we realize that we have a sizable immigrant community in this country and in this city. And one of the things that we're going to do is we're working with the Republican National Committee. We're going to hold citizenship classes, the civic classes.
Wow, that is amazing.
And then our PAC will help them by providing some attorneys to answer simple questions. We will provide them fingerprinting, and we will provide them photographs so they can prepare their application for citizenship. These are legal immigrants that went through the process legally and are eligible to become U.S. citizens. So we're encouraged about that. We're also forming what we call Texas Latino Conservatives Pastors, and it's an organization of pastors that are going to go across the state and encourage the Latino community and the leadership of the church to get involved civically. A lot of churches in the Latino community don't show the Hispanic community why it's important to participate in an election. It determines your schools and determines the quality of your lifestyle in your community, and you get to elect your own representative. So we're hoping that we can encourage the Christian community, which is sizable among Hispanics, to participate politically. And of course, one of the exciting things that we did last legislative session, we went to the Texas legislature and asked them to pass a resolution, which the governor signed, making April 4th every year Tejano Day in Texas, honoring the contributions that Tejanos made. Tejanos declared Texas independent from Mexico in 1813. 1813, that was many years before the actual Declaration of Independence signed at Washington on the Brazos in 1836. And it received bipartisan support. Both chambers passed it. The governor signed it. And so now we have Tejano Day in Texas, honoring the contributions of Tejanos, which are mostly Mexican Americans, but they're people from other countries. So Texas is a culturally rich state with a tremendous history, and we're just glad that we can encourage the Latino community to vote their values, which, as we all know, are conservative values.
And I know you have a couple events coming up. You don't have dates on those, but you'll post them on your website.
We will post them on the website.
We'll
It's
get the word out.
TexasLatinoConservatives.com. And if anybody wants to reach out to me, my cell number is 832-521-1962, 832-521-1962.
So once those events, we get dates on it, we'll maybe have Bill announce them on another show. One thing that, I remember as you were in office, you really fought really hard for the firemen. And just can you just tell us a brief story? I know you wanted to make it mandatory that at least 4 firefighters were in the truck for their safety.
Yeah, so when I was running for mayor, one of the big issues in Houston was that for whatever reason, the mayor was at odds with the Houston Fire Department. And, we were starting then to experience some financial difficulties. And as a matter of cost savings, they decided to put 3 firefighters on a pumper truck. Well, that's unsafe because one of them has to stay with the truck, meaning the chauffeur. That meant that you only had 2 firefighters to go into a building, and I advocated that we needed a minimum of 4 firefighters on a truck. Tragically, there was a fire at one of the high-rises in the Galleria, and Captain Yankee, a storied firefighting family from Houston, whose grandfather, father, the captain himself, they've all been firefighters. He entered the 4-leaf towers, and unfortunately, he lost his way and was killed. And that was a result.
He was by himself.
I remember that.
He was separated. They didn't have enough staffing, and that just became a huge issue, which propelled my campaign to the very top, highlighting public safety. Not too dissimilar from what we're experiencing now in Harris County. The crime wave is absolutely phenomenal. We were one of the safest counties prior to 2018 when Republicans ran the county. And in 2018, practically every elected judge in the state district courts that hear criminal cases are Democrats. And they started putting people out on personal recognizance bonds, low bonds, no bonds. And as you saw the other day, a off-duty peace officer was killed on his way home from buying dinner for his family.
Oh, my goodness.
But the alleged murderers were out on bond for previous murders. I mean, it's just crazy.
Yeah.
Well, I can't help but not quote our pastor, Dr. Young. Throw the bums out. I'm going to say that. That may not be his exact words, but it's time, and it's time for a change. I'm going to say that. There's no doubt about it. So
I admire his leadership for
Dr. Young?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I've known Dr. Young for years.
Awesome.
He's a jewel of a human being, but it takes courage for a pastor to get involved in civic affairs. Most pastors will not do it, and we lose our way. I remember in the 80s when Ronald Reagan was running for office, there was a young man who created what was called the Christian Coalition and helped Ronald Reagan win the presidency. And ever since then, we had conservative leadership, and it was going well. But the same thing happened in Harris County. We had conservative judges who believed that the public needed to be defended, that bonds were a way to assure that accused would have their day in court and actually show up. Now they don't even bother to show up. And so the backlog is tremendous. The murder rate is through the roof. And it's time that we bring back some law and order to Harris County.
Yeah. Indeed. Orlando, one of the other things I do want to say as I'm thinking about this, when I heard when Judene said you were going to be on the show, she said the name, bam, there's the name recognition. So when you ran for mayor those times and all your other work in politics, man, your name, and that's serving you today. The power of, I would say, branding and the work that we do previously in life, that's really helping you today and also helping your organization, I'm imagining.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, having name ID is very important in politics. I tell the people all the time, why do you think Coca-Cola advertises all the time? Everybody knows.
Never stop.
They never stop. Everybody knows what Coca-Cola is, but it's branding, and branding is very important. That's why politicians have to spend money to run commercials to build their name identification.
Coca-Cola's stock went down when they got a little political.
Okay, but what I'm thinking of, can you imagine being in the Coca-Cola meetings where maybe 20, 30 years ago someone said, well, look, everyone already knows us. Why should we spend these millions of dollars? Because they ended up doing the right thing for their company. It was smart. Keep the message. Repetition is so important.
Absolutely.
I want to say this. You're in super shape, Orlando. Let's tell people, other than all the things you're doing politically and in your career, how do you stay in shape and keep some kind of a balance in terms of all the great things that you could capture in life?
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head by saying balance. Life is about balance. It's about family. It's about having spiritual well-being. It's about having good health. It's about living a lifestyle that doesn't cause you to have problems. Too often people engage in activities that may not be harmful immediately, but then 15 years later you wonder, maybe I shouldn't have been drinking a gallon of booze or wine every day.
Or eating that cheesecake.
Or maybe I should have gone to I should have gone to Memorial Park and walked the loop. So yeah, I mean, I love the outdoors. I love to hike. I love to cycle. I own a motorcycle. I take it up to I have a second home in Montana, Bill.
I was just going to ask you about Montana, so you took the words out of my mouth.
Yeah, so I found a
all...
place up there, and I took my Harley Davidson up there, and I really enjoy riding up and down the Yellowstone River.
Talking about scenery.
Yeah. My husband loves it as well. He loves taking photographs of wildlife, and he's been on several expeditions up there where he's horseback ride up into the mountains and spent the night and cooked out, and so he's done a lot of those things. He loves it too.
Yeah.
Man, what a scene you just set there, Judene.
I know, it's just gorgeous.
The mountains and, oh, man.
Nice and cool.
Well, we tell
Low
people in
humidity.
Montana doesn't like change, and unfortunately, Montana real estate prices are being driven through the roof. As
Because
are
of
Texas.
Yellowstone, the movie.
Well, not only Yellowstone the movie, but because people from California are fleeing California and going to states like Montana and Texas. And, we like to say that Montana's full, even though the population
Don't
of
tell
Montana.
anybody. We're full.
The population of Montana is less than the population of the city of Houston.
Wow.
Well, just a side note, one of the things I do when I look at YouTube videos, I'm somehow focused because I love the beauty of California. I used to go there all the time. It's a shame what's happened there. But I end up watching these YouTube videos about people leaving California and why. There's many reasons, but one of the financial reasons you could take, let's say someone makes $5 million. Or you're a high earner, you make $5 million. On Forbes.com, there's a calculator with all the states. $5 million, you're paying more than 50% in taxes. So let's say you earn $100,000. It's about the same thing. That's just one of the many reasons.
But that's right. That's one of the many reasons. But, for example, California said that you can no longer drive a gas-powered
And that
automobile. And then they ran out of electricity the other day. They had to go hat in hand begging to North Dakota for some electricity. I mean, these people have gone off the rails.
Well, we have about 3-4 minutes left. Judene,
I would like to
what
ask
else
you
do we
one
wanna know?
question. Would you ever run for mayor again?
Never say never.
Good. Good.
I
Well, we hope you do.
I love this city. I think it has tremendous potential. Houston could be the hub of Latin American trade. It is certainly the energy capital of the world. This city has so much to offer. But it's sad to see that, we have a shortage of police officers. Our criminal justice system is going down the tubes. Our infrastructure and deferred maintenance in the city is hurting neighborhoods. We have streets that are, look like third world country streets. I mean, these are things that the government ought to be spending money on, and not the frivolity that City Hall has engaged in. I mean, there's such a waste of money, of taxpayer money, and so I think we need to get back to the basics. So never say never. I love the city. I'd love my time my life has been about service. I served in the United States Air Force. I was a volunteer EMT. I, ran for public office, and so I love serving. I'm the chairman of the University of Houston Foundation Board of Trustees. I love giving back. This has been a great country. I tell people all the time, had I not immigrated to Houston, I'd be chopping sugar cane for the Castro brothers in Cuba.
Well, as long as I can remember, there's been a Democrat in office for mayor here. So, and that just goes way back. I don't think that that's changed in all the years that I've been involved in politics.
No, but I tell you, people are becoming more attuned that it's not about it's not a matter
I wish
of
that people would stop that.
Yeah, I tell people all the time, you have to pick a team. You can't play for the Dallas Cowboys and the Houston Texans. So
Right.
pick a team. I picked the red shirt team, which is the conservative team, the
Just
Republicans.
stands for more of your values.
But the city is experiencing a phenomenal Hispanic growth, and Hispanics are starting to exercise their right to vote, and their philosophy is more conservative. So Rudy Giuliani was elected in the most democratic,
That's true.
liberal city in America.
That's
so
true.
if it can happen in New York,
It can happen anywhere.
certainly can happen in Houston.
I also want to say thank you for your military service. If anyone's
Absolutely.
listening that is serving in the military now or has served, we appreciate you. First responders as well. That's such an important thing.
And our Border Patrol. Those guys do a
Absolutely.
great job.
Right
Yes.
here in Texas.
All men
What
in
a
uniform.
crazy job that is. They're doing tremendous work. Before we close the show, we want to remind people, Judene, as our show partner and founder of Texas Floor Covering, you're helping commercial spaces put floors right there. You've put floors in the Minute Maid, all sorts of big, medium, all those things. Texas Floor Covering, you're doing tremendous work, Judene.
We have some wonderful clients. So, yeah, Minute Maid and Toyota and Transwestern, as you just heard with Michelle.
And let's tell people your website so they can reach out to you if they need commercial flooring.
It's TexasFloorCovering.com. It's TexasFloorCovering.com.
What else before we close the show, Judene?
I want to leave that last minute for Orlando.
Well, I urge everyone that's listening. People say that a vote doesn't matter. It certainly
It
does.
absolutely
The
does.
first time I got elected, I won by 114 votes.
Wow.
Can you
So a
believe
vote
it?
does matter. It makes a difference. I know people get excited about voting for the presidential elections every 4 years, but I ask people all the time, when was the last time the president responded to your 911 call or picked up your garbage can or repaired your street
Yes.
or taught your child? And so, yes, national elections are important, but it's the local elections. And what happens is when good people, don't go out to vote, we get the results we're experiencing in Harris County. Look at our judicial system. The courts are a nightmare. They're churning out violent criminals to repeat offenses that are hurting law-abiding, tax-paying citizens.
Orlando, let's tell people your website again before we close.
TexasLatinoConservatives.com. TexasLatinoConservatives.com.
TLC.
TLC. People can't forget that. Thank you for being with us today.
My pleasure.
Thank you, Judene, and thank you all for listening to Successful Living with Bill Nampick. And today, with Judene Bill, Orlando Sanchez, and Michelle.
Wogan.
There you go. Teamwork, right, Judene?
Yes.
We'll see you next week. And also, you can go to, if you want to see the show, the YouTube video, what's going on in the studio, simply go to radiobill.net. Radiobill.net. That's radiobill.net. And we'll see you next week. Thanks for listening.
I know people get excited about voting for the presidential elections every 4 years, but I ask people all the time, when was the last time the president responded to your 911 call or picked up your garbage can or repaired your street
Yes.
or taught your child? And so, yes, national elections are important, but it's the local elections. And what happens is when good people, don't go out to vote, we get the results we're experiencing in Harris County. Look at our judicial system. The courts are a nightmare. They're churning out violent criminals to repeat offenses that are hurting law-abiding, tax-paying citizens.
As we move from room to room, building to building, business to business, we are walking on floors of some type at all times. At Texas Floor Covering, we are there to serve you since 1989, helping you, whether you're an architect, designer, building manager, general contractor, a sports arena, government agency. We are there for your commercial flooring needs. Texas Floor Covering. Give us a call at 713-862-2444. That's 713-862-2444. Our website is texasfloorcovering.com. That's texasfloorcovering.com. Check us out. We are here for you, Texas Floor Covering.
Bill Nappick has produced another show, Successful Living with Bill Nappick, one of the most unique programs of its kind. Sundays from 6 to 7 p.m. on AM 950 KPRC. Successful Living with Bill Nappick. Go to radiobill.net for more info.